So while we were looking at all the nominations, and thank you all for sending in the nominations this year, we realized there was a major category that we were really not reaching with the current awards that we had. And it occurred to us that we really need something for a mid-career person. And then we started asking the question, who should this be named in honor of? And it was so rewarding that so many of our principal investigators and other people that we asked in the community all came back with this same name. And we are very honored that we can create today a new award named after Angioletta Coradini for mid-career accomplishments in science and exploration. So the Angioletta Coradini Mid-Career Award will be an annual award given by SSERVI to a researcher for significant, lasting accomplishments related to exploration science. It's named in honor of Angioletta, a planetary scientist, and she was exceptional in so many ways. What we decided to put on the award itself is that her theories and instruments made our solar system a more familiar place. We're very fortunate today that her brother, Marcello Coradini, can be here to accept this award on her behalf posthumously. But before I bring Marcello up here, I would like to say a little bit about him, because I am wondering what in the world their parents did to inspire both Angioletta and Marcello to be such deep explorers of space. I'm very glad, whatever it was, that they did this. Marcello began his academic career in Italy during the golden age of planetary exploration, the 1970s. And he contributed to the establishment of this discipline both within Italy and across Europe. He is an associate of the Italian Space Agency and an affiliate of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And at JPL, he served as the ESA program coordinator until just recently. He is the author of more than 150 scientific and engineering papers and 6 books. He is also a space consultant on space system designs, and he's a visiting professor at the University of Geneva. Your family has really contributed to space exploration, and my only sorrow is that we lost your sister, our beloved colleague, far too soon. And now I'd like to invite Marcello up here to tell us a little bit more about his sister, Angioletta Coradini. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Obviously, I'm incredibly honored of being here, and obviously, I would not like to be here. I would like to be in the audience and being able to applaud to my sister. But life is what it is, so I have to accept on her behalf this prestigious award. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of details of what basically is not very well known of my sister, of Angelita. She's probably very well known as a scientist, but a little bit less as a person. So I want to give you a little bit of my family view of the scientist. So the next one, of course, this is. Okay, my sister was born in a small village on the Alps, on the Dolomites. And as we all know, the place where you're born gives you an imprinting that stays with you all of your life. And people from the Alps, from the Dolomites in particular, are well known for their determination, their stubbornness. They never get tired, they keep going. And I think this describes very well all of the life of my sister, who was still reading and writing papers a few days before passing away. But because she was born right after the end of World War II, and my father at that time was in charge for the Italian government of rebuilding the infrastructure totally destroyed during the war, our family was moving from one place to the other. So a few years later, the family moved to Naples, where I was born. I'm the little thing on the arms of my mother. And Angioletta is the little girl there. And she started her studies in Naples. But she never got imprinted with Naples. I must say, she remained a lady of the Alps. And eventually, after another few years, the family moved definitely to Rome, where Angioletta started her high school and eventually took her degree in physics at the Institute of Physics of the University of Rome. Just a little funny episode. It was really shocking for my sister going from a very private high school run by nuns who were encouraging little girls to walk like the Holy Mary, when she went from this type of environment to the University of Rome during the period of the cultural revolutions in Europe in 1968. And we were joking by saying, instead of taking a bus at that time, you take the next demonstration to go home, you know. So that was quite a change for the life of my sister. Next slide, please. But physicists, both my sister and I are physicists, but the physicists, particularly in Italy, are kind of snobbish. And so they never accepted planetary science, at least at that time, as real science. So we found hospitality at the Institute of Geology, a few hundred meters of distance in the same campus. And it's where Angioletta basically developed her first skills as a planetary scientist. She started her career by analyzing lunar spherules, glassy spherules coming from the moon. We were so lucky we were given graciously by NASA a little bit of lunar samples, so the only other team outside the United States to do that. And that triggered Angioletta towards, obviously, the origin of the moon, and very soon she became very much interested in the origin of the solar system. That remained, origin, formation, and evolution of the solar system remained for Angioletta a major feature of her scientific career. And all what she did afterwards, she always tried to go back and trying to give, you know, with the new data she was producing with her experiment, trying to give a further push to the understanding of this fundamental process. Next, please. Next slide, please. A mature scientist. Well, all of us, we always have a child in our heart, and so that picture shows that she was still a child even when she was a mature scientist. In the 80s, something magic happened in Europe. Europe was basically out of the exploration of the solar system. Only one European-made object, the Giotto mission, the Giotto probe to Comet Halley, had left the gravity of the Earth. But in the 80s, ESA and Europe have decided that a program of planetary exploration was something important to do. And so ESA, and at that time I was at ESA, we had to call on European scientists and decide that it was about time to produce European data in space and not only work on US-made or Russian-made data. That was very important. Angioletta basically was the very first one to answer, and her first involvement with experiments was at the time of the Cassini mission. I was struggling in Paris trying to put together the mission to convince Dan Goldin that Cassini should not be canceled. And so there was a lot of politics involved in that. But eventually we came to the payload selection, and Angioletta got involved with the VIMS experiment. I must underline at that time, no scientist in Europe had ever made or designed or used an infrared spectrometer in space. And I also, you know, a little detail about my sister. At that time, she couldn't make the difference between a hammer and a screwdriver. And nevertheless, in a few months, I heard her speaking about very complex circuitry and optical design. So I look at her and I said, what happened to you? You come from Mars, so you speak a strange language nowadays, you know. But that really was a change. And since then, I must say that Angioletta love affairs with infrared spectrometer get started. And in the last 20 years, basically, she has been able to put an instrument on every spacecraft, European, be it European, American, or Soviets or Indian, that left this planet to go exploring the solar system. So that's a very long list of missions she was involved with. Cassini, Rosetta, Max Express, Venus Express, Dawn, Vesta, Bepi Colombo. Finally, ExoMars, and even JUICE. ExoMars and JUICE will not see her involved personally, but her experiments were designed by her, and her students are, inheriting Angioletta's legacy. Next, please. So when Angioletta passed away, the national and international press came up with this nickname for her, the Lady of the Planets. And they were right. Journalists were right, because they realized that not many people in the world have their name associated to so many celestial bodies. The first one to be named after Angioletta was asteroid 4598. There, we don't have a picture of the asteroid, it's too small, but we have the orbit that you can see. Then in the course of the Rosetta mission, the Rosetta mission science team decided to name a specific part of the comet Churyumov-Gerasimenko, the most unpronounceable comet in the universe. So you can call it 67P. The Coradini gate, which is that part indicated by the circle. And thanks to her contribution to the Vesta mission, even a crater on Vesta has been named after her. And more recently, I just actually discovered very, very recently, yesterday actually, that there is an ongoing process to name another crater on the surface of Pluto after Angioletta. So this confirms that she's really the lady of the planets. Next slide, please. Next, please. Okay, obviously she will be forever in our hearts and forever in the solar system. I put there a few lines of a poem from an Italian poet of the 18th century that says basically, very poetically, that the way to reach eternity is through the memory of the people who love you and who have consideration of you. I think that what Angioletta has done will always live and will give her eternity in our hearts, in our minds, and in the minds of many of the students who are following her steps. And so this is a very brief summary of her achievements in her too short life. So more than 350 refereed papers, basically 4 celestial bodies carry her name, recipient of many awards, the EGU David Bates Medal, the EGU Cassini Gold Medal, the NASA Distinguished Service Medal, and this for a non-American, it's a very high honor. Members of national and international academies. She was even member of the Russian Academy of Sciences. And today, there is this prestigious award that is named after her and that will, I would say, extend her legacy in the solar system. Thank you very much. Thank you.